elevated torsion control, what you're gonna do is you're gonna get into a plank, but with your hands elevated onto a bench. Choose a bench height that is appropriate for you to do the movement. You can always try something out. If you still find that you can't find stability, I would go up a little bit higher. If it's too easy, you go lower. So elevate your hands onto a bench. Hands should be right underneath your shoulders. And in order to get you there, I want you to shift your weight on top of your wrists. So I'm up on my toes. Also important to note here that the wider your feet are, the more stable you'll be. So if you need to just widen up your feet all the way, go for it. A more narrow stance will be a little bit more difficult for you to keep your hips still, and that's what we want, right? So widen up the feet as much as you need. And from here, I'm in a nice straight plank. My shoulders right on top of my wrists. Try not to live back here, be right on top. And then I'm going to think about bracing my core before I even start the movement. I'm going to dig my toes into the ground, especially the opposite toe to the hand I'm about to lift. So if I'm about to lift my left hand, I'm going to dig my right toe into the ground, keep my core tight, squeeze my glutes because the glutes are a part of the core. I'm going to lift up the left hand, tap my opposite hand, and then come back. I'm going to then brace my core once again in between your reps. Dig my left toe in now. My right hand's gonna come up, tap my left hand, and then come back. I'm trying to keep my back and my core as stable as possible as I do this. So set your position first. Take a second in between your reps. Lift a hand, tap, and come back over. What I don't want to see are two things. The biggest two are hips shifting side to side. I'm not taking a second in between my reps, and I'm letting my core disengage. If that happens to you, even if you're trying your best and following all the cues, just go up a little bit higher to a countertop. This could even be done on a wall if you need to. And the second cue is rushing in. So try not to slap your hand and come back. I want you to, it's called torsion control for a reason, so I want you to really, really control the movement. Dig in, brace, lift your hand, float over, tap, and come back. Your core will benefit so much more from this. If you need to elevate it, do so. Because in keeping your hips and your glutes and your torso still, your core will benefit so much more from this movement, as well as in controlling the movement and trying not to rush it. So if you need to, elevate it up. And then once this feels really, really comfortable at the hands and tapping at the hands, what you can do is graduate to level 2, which is tapping the elbows. So when I tap the elbows, it gets a little bit more difficult because it's a little bit more distance I have to travel. And if that starts to feel easy at the height that you're at the reps that you're at, we can graduate up to the shoulders, which makes it even more difficult. So try out whatever version works for you. If you've graduated to your shoulders and you're doing all of the reps, the higher end range of the reps that I prescribed to you, you get to graduate a little bit lower. So you can find a stack of books, a very low bench, graduate lower to there. Same thing, once that starts to feel easy, then we can get down to the ground again and be doing your torsion control from the ground. Level 1, that rep was a little bit rushed, widen my feet. Level 1, hands. Level 2, elbows. And level 3, shoulders. Whichever you can do while keeping everything nice and stable, or as stable as possible. If it's a little bit wobbly, that's okay, just keep working there. And the last and final tip that I like to add to torsion control, especially when I'm seeing clients in person, is I'll grab a yoga block or a flip-flop or a slipper or something, and I'll put it on the low back. And you can try this elevated as well, but what it does is it really, really helps you subconsciously tell your body how stable it needs to be. Because if I start flopping around, then the flip-flop could come off. This is a pretty sturdy one with some friction on the bottom, but a yoga block works really well as well, or a light magazine. Something that's gonna feel vulnerable and like it's about to flip off of your back, because once you have that in that position, your body will be forced to tighten up because it can feel that object shaking around. Try out those tips, let me know how it goes.